Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park Governing Body for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. First, we have the approval of an amended agenda. We'll be removing item 10A. We also do have a closed session. We have several items for closed session. Dean, would you read the citations, please?
Yes, Mayor. We have one item under paragraph 1 and 2 items under paragraph 8.
Thank you. Are there any other edits to the agenda? Okay. Then do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Please join us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
and justice
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is public comment time. We don't have anyone signed up, but is there anyone who is not signed up but who would still like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we will move on to presentations. We have this evening some folks from Dominion Energy with us. We have Ms. Yolanda Green, Ms. Hannah Hurst, Ms. Jenna Brown. So who's going to start us off today? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Rischel, Vice Mayor Mensing, members of council, residents, staff, and guests. I'm Calvin Odell, the Director of Community Development. As the Mayor mentioned, we have representatives from Dominion Energy here tonight who are going to be doing the presentation about their project, but we also have Steve Hall joining us remotely, who has been coordinating this effort with them. So I'll turn it over to Steve to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Calvin, and good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, staff, and guests. I am Steve Hall, and I'm the Transportation Program Manager for the city. This evening, you'll be receiving an informational presentation from Dominion Energy staff on the Clifton to Winners Branch Line 2011 Electric Transmission Partial Rebuild Project. This is the line that runs through the city along the Norfolk Southern Rail and through Blooms Park before crossing the Bull Run. Since late 2022, when first learning of this project, I've served as the primary point of contact and have been proactively coordinating with Dominion staff on the upcoming work. There have been numerous meetings and regular information exchanges with the Dominion team and city staff to keep all parties informed since late 2022. The presentation this evening will provide an overview of the project, location and heights of structures, areas impacted, and the construction timeline. And as the Mayor mentioned, Ms. Jenna Brown is present. She's the Senior Communications Specialist. She'll be the primary presenter this evening. We also have Ms. Hannah Hurst. She's the Senior Siting and Permitting Specialist for Electric Transmission. She has been our primary point of contact. And Ms. Yolanda Green with External Affairs for Fairfax and Prince William. With that, I'll give you Jenna.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Really appreciate you having us tonight. As Steve mentioned, my name is Jenna Brown. I'm our communications specialist here to speak on the Clifton to Winters Branch 230 kilovolt electric transmission project. So before we get into the project details, I do want to take a moment and talk about the energy landscape more broadly. We're in a period of rapid change here in Virginia, and there are a few forces driving that change, one of which is increasing electrification and the addition of electric technologies, including electric vehicles, which are increasing that demand. We also have the proliferation of data centers here in Northern Virginia, which continue to increase both in quantity, but also in the size and the scale of those centers themselves. That all requires power, which does put impacts for our grid and the need for new projects. We also have the connection of renewable energy and other green initiatives and other power generation initiatives onto the grid, which does drive operational changes as well. So all of those lead us to a number of projects, including our project tonight, the Clifton to Winters Branch rebuild project. So in order to maintain electric reliability for the region, it is necessary for us to upgrade the conductor or the wire on this 7¼ mile electric transmission line at the 230 kilovolt voltage. The new wire will remain at the same voltage, but it'll have a higher capacity, and we will need to rebuild the supporting structures to accommodate that wire. The project terminus is at Clifton Substation in Fairfax County, and just outside Cannon Branch Substation in the city of Manassas. Also crosses Prince William County and, of course, the city of Manassas Park. And this is part of a broader transmission initiative to extend the line to terminate at Winters Branch, which is in Prince William County as well. So that the portion that you see on the screen in blue is a new line, and then the portion in yellow, which is the portion here in Manassas Park, is a rebuild. So the structures are going to be very similar in size and appearance, rebuilt from what you see today. They are going to be single circuit brown weathering steel monopole structures. So we'll have the arms on one side, but they will be about 5 feet taller on average relative to the structures that you see today, again, capable of supporting that upgraded wire. We have a tool on our website, which is available at the QR code and the URL shown on screen here, which does give you the opportunity to look at different addresses or locations along the line and look at the structures near there, the current heights and the proposed heights, as well as simulations of each of those. And it'll show before and after views of different locations along the line, which may be of interest as well. So that gives a detailed look at each of the structures. But specifically within the city of Manassas Park, they are 14 structure replacements. You can see on this map faintly in that light blue color is the city limits, and then shown in blue, the blue squares along the line are the existing structures, and the yellow squares are the planned structures. It's sort of hard to differentiate them in many cases because the future structure location is so similar to what we have now, just a few feet offset. However, close to the City Hall area and the VRE train station area, we do have some difference there, which I'll speak to in more detail. We were requested to realign that location slightly, moving that structure, which is labeled as structure 27 here, into the roundabout area. It was the structure currently is a little south of that. So we were asked to just realign the right-of-way slightly, which is the reason for some of those changes to the structures around that area. That was a request from the former city manager, as I understand it. And so our engineering team has made that change, and our right-of-way team is in the process of finalizing the adjusted right-of-way with the city as well. So what you see here is the existing photo of what it looks like today, and then the proposed conditions are on bottom. So you can see just a slight shift in that structure, which of course has a few impacts to the surrounding structures. And then the other key area within the city is, of course, Blooms Park. So to access the electric transmission line right of way, which wraps around the outside, we will need to access from the park. You can see are the access maps shown here, or the access routes rather, shown here in green. So we do have one coming up from the south, and then one sort of wrapping around the north side. To make accommodations for that and the trail closures, which we will need to have, just a small area in the rear of the park. We will have ample signage, and we're coordinating all of that with Steve and his team, as well as repaving the trails that are marked in the orange area on screen, impacted generally in the project area, so we'll be repaving those at the end of the project and leaving those in good shape before we leave the area. And then I will say, just to zoom in more closely on the area of impact, so where you see that overlap, what the yellow line is the trails, and then the green line is our access back in this area. So just that portion of trails will need to be closed, but given that it's a loop, we'll be sure to have that signage throughout the park. And then also in that area, during our access reviews, our team identified an area where additional stormwater control measures would be helpful. So we've been coordinating that with Steve and his team to make sure that that's in place for our project, but also to leave that and turn that over to the city to continue helping in this area after the project is done. So that's all in progress. We're finalizing the details of that now. So a little bit on our timeline. Steve mentioned this project has been in the works for a while prior to the SEC project, the SEC process, and getting that approval from the SEC, and then moving into our construction timeline. So in July, we completed our pre-construction outreach, including a community meeting, as well as notifications to all of the neighbors across localities within 1,000 feet of the proposed transmission line. And then following that, in mid-August, we began installing our access roads and forestry activities outside Cannon Branch Substation in the city of Manassas. Transmission line construction began this week with initial activities, but it won't reach Manassas Park until the spring. And then overall, we'll complete construction by the end of 2025 and continue restoring the area through early 2026. We do have some resources available for residents. Our project website includes a lot of the information that I've shared here tonight. It can be reached at the URL or the QR code on screen. We also have more information specific on the construction process at our virtual open house site, powerlines101.dominionenergy.com. And our team is always happy to field questions. We have an email and a call line. And I will say on our website and contacting our team, information is available in English and Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. I had sent some questions to staff regarding the readiness of the grid for the popularity of EVs. Even though our city is not within the Dominion service area, we have friends and relatives and colleagues that do live in your service area. So we're thinking in terms of hopefully all the power companies will be ready. What, in addition to the upgraded wire that you mentioned, what other type of infrastructure are you going to deploy? And what's the timetable for that deployment?
So specific to electric vehicles, there are some programs under the Grid Transformation Plan, which has been, I think the first wave was back in late 2010s, and continuing now, we're in the third phase. So there are some programs on the electric distribution side of the business under the Grid Transformation Plan. But under electric transmission, we're really looking at all of our sources of load growth comprehensively. They can push and pull on the grid and drive projects together. So we're constantly evaluating the need for additional projects, whether that's to support EVs or other needs on the grid. This is on our high voltage system. So that evaluation is constant. Sometimes that will put a need for a project that can be solved another way and a project will go away. Sometimes that means that we need to expedite a project. So it's a constant evolution. Our planning department is always modeling and evaluating that in conjunction with PJM, our regional transmission operator. So it really is an iterative process that's always going on. So we stay ahead of any reliability issues and, to your point, make sure that we are anticipating what's coming down the line.
With many folks now trying to decide whether to purchase an EV or not, they don't want to have to go home and everybody charge their vehicles in the evening, and we have brownouts and things of that nature. So is there a calendar by which you think that the grid will be ready?
So what I've learned from our electrification team is that we are ready, but there are some programs in place to encourage like off-peak charging.
Okay.
I'm not the expert on the details of those. I'd be happy to connect you with those who are on the Dominion side of things. But I don't believe that that's a risk at this point, and we're trying to stay ahead of that, which is why we have projects such as this one contributing to our overall reliability.
Okay. If there's any written information on that, could you please send it to city manager and he can forward it to the governing body?
Sure, let me make a
Yeah.
note on that.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I got a quick question on slide 7, moving the pole from the side to the middle of the roundabout. Do you have information on how that'll be done without majorly impacting the commuters that use the VRE lot?
In terms of the construction or the relocation? Yes, so our team is in consulting with the VRE lot. We've been in progress on that. We do have where we need construction entrance permits. That's all been permitted. Hannah has handled that for our team. And our construction team is typically mindful of peak use periods. There are only typically a few minute periods where we need to have the full area beneath the lines cleared during our critical wire pulling operations. Otherwise, we can typically manage everything with flagging. So I wouldn't expect significant impacts during construction in terms of inability to access the lot, but that's definitely something we've been coordinating. Hannah, anything to add? Okay.
So I was just thinking about folks that come in the morning that, hit the snooze button one too many times. They come speeding in and then they just run up the steps, because I've never done that.
No, can't relate to that at all.
No, but none of us have ever done that. But thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Question? Comments? Or? Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. I asked most of my questions at the Planning Commission last week, but I just wanted to repeat thank you for the conversation regarding the trail replacement or repaving and the tree replacement. So thanks for that.
Okay. Councilmember Moore?
Ms. Brown, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate you being here with us this evening. My only question was dealing with tree canopies. Once the new poles go up, how much of Bloom's Crossing canopy trees will be impacted by the new taller poles, and what kind of trimming will take place? And will the trees, I'm assuming an arborist will be in place so that the trees aren't damaged in such a way that it's irreparable?
Yes, so our forestry team is engaged. I mentioned that they started their evaluations along the transmission easement in July, so that's still in progress, or excuse me, it was in August, so that's still in progress. So I don't have a response to give you today on what properties or what trees will be impacted, but our forestry team does go through and survey everything based on the new engineering to identify danger trees, which we categorize as trees which could fall within 10 feet of the energized transmission line. That's what is the premier safety risk on our system to reliability, which we've already discussed at length. And so those trees would be trimmed or removed depending on the forestry team's evaluation. So that is going in conjunction. It'll be completed kind of throughout the construction process. We'll stay out of the way, but the forestry team will come in and out, get that evaluation, and then they always consult with property owners prior to any removals or work being done. That's a key part of the process as well. So I don't have an answer to give you at this point other than to say that the danger tree evaluation is ongoing, and once we have a response on that, that'll be coordinated with the property owners affected, if anyone.
Appreciate that answer. Thank you very much.
Follow up?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Javed, do you have a question? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate the presentation, and thank you, ladies, very
Yes.
much for coming. Okay. Okay, there is, moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approval of the minutes of September 6th and September 10th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
Move approval?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on, there is no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. Second quarter appropriations for FY25, city and schools.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the governing body. Pretty standard appropriation request for second quarter. On the general fund side, it's equalized across 4 quarters, so it's the same amount, similar to last quarter. on the operating budget, on the capital side and the debt side, we kind of front-loaded, so it's a bigger appropriation than the last 2 quarters, because debt and capitals are usually front-loaded in the beginning of the year. And then on the enterprise fund side, it's equalized across 4 quarters. So total for Q2, the city is roughly $35 million. And then for the school, they are also equalized across 4 quarters, and for Q2 is roughly $15 million.
Okay. Any comments or questions for city manager? Okay. There are 2 motions for this item. The first motion is that the governing body appropriate $35,231,856 to the city for Q2 of fiscal year 2025.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. The next motion is that the governing body appropriate $15,028,558 to city schools for Q2 of fiscal year 2025.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we are at our second public comment time. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment?
Madam Mayor?
Seeing, yes, ma'am.
Down here. Well, first, I want to thank everybody that came yesterday. I want to thank everybody that, and the other board members of Keep the Park Beautiful. I want to thank everybody that came out last weekend. We actually had a lifelong resident come, her husband, and her 91-year-old mother, who the daughter and the 91-year-old mother, they were gone for all 2 hours. And all I can say, I think that is our new spokesperson. But I thank everybody that came out, and we picked up, how many pounds, Yessie?
About 200, 226, something like that.
Yeah. We had some interesting finds as usual.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we got some coverage in Potomac Local. So, thank you to everybody that came out.
excellent. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the city? Okay. Moving on to city manager's report.
Good evening again. So just a quick update on the EDA, the Economic Development Authority. It's been a while since the EDA met, and we have a meeting next week on the 25th, and that is just for a couple of reasons. Number one, the board is going to select a new chairman, and then they're also going to appoint a staff liaison. Usually that's held by the Economic Development Coordinator. So in this case, it will be me, and then we're going to discuss sort of economic updates on the downtown, and then go into presenting to the board the B&B Theater product. And so B&B will be here in person as well to present that. Several of the EDA members are new, so it'll be a good chance for them to kind of catch up on things. The 25th? That's a Wednesday.
Any questions on that for city manager? Questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Yes,
I did have one announcement that I forgot.
go ahead.
I just want to remind the community that we're having the Community Forum on Domestic Violence on September 30th at the Community Center from 6 to 7:30. So please come out and participate in that forum. It's September 30th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Community Center, a forum on domestic violence.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Moore. And also, that sparked something in my memory as well. There are resources located on the city website for domestic violence victims. So if you go to the housing section of the, I don't know, is it possible to put that up on the screen to show the pathway to get to the domestic violence resources?
Sure, we can do that. We'll have to do it.
It might help the public. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Daryl, while we're waiting, can you give some details about the forum? Are there special guest speakers? Is it just an open dialogue?
There are several nonprofit community serving agencies that will be on the panel that will be providing information. But of course, there'll be questions and answers and listening to people and their concerns. But there will be a panel discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I will just also say while we're getting this to load up, it's being spearheaded by Delegate Maldonado and our Vice Mayor and Councilmember Amaya and myself. So just appreciate that.
Sorry, I don't know why it's not working. Give me 1 second, please.
And decided to go on vacation.
But it also is the PowerPoint and the flyer that's posted on social medias is on the city events main website page as well as the community service housing section.
She wants to say something. She wants to miss the public time.
Yes, please do.
Hi, I'm Stacy Cyberling, and I just wanted
Can you
to
speak directly into the microphone?
I'm Stacy Cyberling.
It's on.
It's on. Good evening, I'm Stacy Cyberling, and I wanted to say something in relation to the domestic violence event on September 30th. In support of, from the schools, the schools also offers Care Solace. It's a free multilingual mental health support services available 24/7, 365 to all Manassas Park City schools and residents as well. It is free. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's also, all that information has also been forwarded to Michelle Maldonado as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we've got it.
Thank you. So this is the main events and news page. So I have the flyer listed here along with a bunch of the other resources and hotlines. And then if you go to departments, under community services, you'll see housing. If you click that, you'll see acts up here. And then I believe if you go under housing resources on the side here, and you scroll down, there's a list of resources for everything. But if you keep going down all the way to the bottom, give me 1 moment. Here we go. Right here is the domestic violence resources.
It used to be further up top. It used to be at the very beginning.
I can move it up there. I don't know how it got down there, but I can go in and
Okay,
move
no,
that. Yeah.
no. At least for the next month, that give people a chance to know where it is.
Yes, absolutely. I'll work with the vet to get that fixed up
Okay,
on there.
thank you. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Okay, is there any other comments before we move on? Okay, we're going to go into closed session. City Attorney, would you read us into closed session?
I recommend the governing body go into a closed meeting for the following reasons: to discuss and consider the assignment and salaries of specific city employees, and to consult with the city attorney regarding 2 specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by the city attorney pursuant to paragraphs 1 and 8 respectively of subsection 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia.
Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Do we need a comfort break, or can we go directly in?
Directly.
Okay, okey dokey.
Get it over with.